Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Welcome again to the All Things Connected Virtual Thought Leadership Series. And today we're going to talk about smart buildings and facility management. In last 9 months, we have seen a lot of transformation because of the COVID-19. I don't have to talk about COVID now, but we can see already the impact it is making for the buildings and facility owners. In fact, as I was talking to a couple of facility owners in this region, and they're also trying to transform the way they have to manage their facilities, be it as industrial facility or as residential or a retail malls. So we're going to touch upon some of those challenges today, what the developers, what the facility owners should do to help transform, help survive, and hopefully scale up in the future. With me today, we have got three wonderful experts dialing from different regions and bringing different expertise and experience. So first with me today is Javeria Aijaz. She is the ICT director for Farnek. Farnek is one of the largest facility management company based out of Dubai and covering the Middle East region. Then we have Steven, he's a senior technical director at Beca. Some of you might be aware of Beca is one of the large engineering and consulting organizations based out of New Zealand with global offices obviously in Singapore as well. And last but not the least, we have Edward. He's the Chief Executive Officer, Sistema Asia Capital. And I speak to Ed quite often, and we share a lot of technical insight together on a lot of new innovation. So we're going to hear from Ed from what the investment community think about the buildings and facilities and what Ed and team look into when they're investing or evaluating any such startups or scale up.
Hi everyone, my name's Steve Perkins. I work for Beca. Beca is a multidisciplinary engineering consultancy firm. We have about 3,300 people across 20 offices across the Asia Pacific region. Being employee owned is really important to us. We aren't controlled by anyone. You can't own the company if you're not an employee. About 40% of our staff own the stock of the firm. We're really excited to have this opportunity today to be part of this event with AllThingsConnected and Singapore IoT. It's so important to have really good partners. Things are changing so fast. Nobody knows everything. And so to work collaboratively with people who are well connected I think is important for anyone who wants to deliver projects well. So what I want to touch on today is we're going to touch a little bit around COVID response, but more importantly, strategy and developing a solid approach. See, today, there's two perspectives people are trying to think about. They're trying to think about, how do I deal with COVID? How do I make people comfortable to come into my office and they're comfortable that it's a safe and productive place to be? But also, what technology should I be doing for the future? The nature of work is changing. The nature of buildings is changing. And buildings, inevitably, even before COVID, we see a huge move over to activity-based working, over to offices being less desk farms and more a place that people come for mentoring and collaboration and to share and to learn. That's going to get accelerated. And so what technologies support that? So you've got these two things that you're trying to balance. And so what's important is to have a strategy, right? And it's hard to have a strategy because we're inundated by ideas. There's so many bright, shiny things that come to us every day. People saying, oh, I've got this new solution, there's a new technology that'll be perfect for you. And it's very hard without a solid strategy to work out whether it fits in with your overall plan. And unfortunately, we do meet with clients who are disenchanted with smart buildings because they've adopted some technology and it wasn't right for them, and they didn't see changes in behaviors. They didn't see adoption that was positive, and therefore they wonder, is the smart building thing a real thing? And often it's just a mismatch. So we want to avoid that. So how do we do that? Well, ironically, the first thing that you do in order to think about smart building technology is don't talk about technology. Stop thinking about technology. When we meet with clients, we say, this building is for people, it's not for the technology. So let's identify who all our stakeholders are, the tenants, the facility operators, the courier person who comes in and needs to deliver something, and visitors and neighbors. Let's understand, how do they interact with our project? How do they interact with the built environment? And then when we talk to people and we interview them, you hear about the pain points and the friction, and the poor guy on the concierge desk saying, someone came in as a visitor for a meeting and they didn't have ID and I couldn't let them in, and then they were angry, and then the tenant was upset. And when you distill all of those opportunities to improve down from all of the stakeholders, you can distill that down and say, aha, here are 10 things that if we could use technology to solve that problem, it would be better. And then once understanding what your problem cases are, what would make the building successful, what solutions would help you meet your original goal when you thought about building your building, then you can think about technology. And then we can say, okay, we know what we need to solve because we heard it from people and we understand that they needed it. Now let's evaluate the technology options that suit those problems, and then we can go ahead and implement them. Now, one can end up with a large list of potential projects of potential solutions. And so in order to distill them down, it's often important to look at it from a wide range of perspectives. Not just the economic payback, but is it meeting your social perspectives? Tenants in buildings have obviously their desire is to make their staff happy and have strong staff productivity and retention. And retailers want people to come in and stay in their store. And so they also have to meet their carbon footprint targets. So look at all of those things. And often the things that we'll recommend people adopt are those solutions that are solving more than one solution, and touching on multiple perspectives so that you're getting maximum benefit from the solutions that you can afford within your budget to implement. So given that perspective and thinking about things through that framework, let's just briefly look at some of the technologies that we're looking at with COVID and say, how does it fit in terms of both short-term and long-term outcomes that might be part of you and our other clients' long-term needs? Oh, sorry, I'm getting ahead of myself. One more thing I should just touch on. The benefit of all of these systems is useful by themselves, but it's when you bring them all together, so each system can benefit from the knowledge of the next, that's when you really get a powerful solution. This is an integration diagram for a business park building we're working on at the moment. And each of those lines is a dedicated integration solution that we've defined and gone through and said what data that needs to be shared. Not share everything with everything. That's nonsense. You're just expensive and you've got too much data. Understand what you need, which systems can benefit from other systems. Would the meeting room media system benefit from the occupancy system telling it that there's people in the room or not? Could do. Right? These sorts of integrations. So when you're purchasing technology, it's also really important to say, is it supported by open protocols? Is it working? Is it going to work with all my other systems in the long term? And so by adopting open protocols and standard industry approaches, you're far more likely to find as you incrementally add systems that it's easy to tie them together to get the real value. All right, so now we're just going to look at some solutions for coronavirus that you've all no doubt heard about. So from an engineering perspective, the key things we think about are stop people touching things, right? Got to reduce the need to touch things because that's a primary infection path. Can we control how people move? Can we stop them all bunching together? Where clients say, hey, I have a team A and team B and I don't want them all in the lift together. Do we have technology for that? It's very interesting how many people are coming back to us who said before, I don't want to invest in indoor air quality sensors. I don't see the value. Coming back and saying, oh, we think that's great. We'd like to see that in our project. And we say, well, you know, you can't measure viruses and things. And they say, no, it's not that. It's all our stakeholders now are very focused on environmental quality, and they care more broadly about what's the chemical, volatile organic compound levels in the air. What are the particulate matters in the air? I care about my health, and now I care much more about environmental quality. So they want to monitor and report. And then finally, tools to manage safe distancing. So these are all things that are being adopted, but we should look at them through short and long-term goals. So touchless interaction, there's a whole suite of these things to allow you to open doors, call lifts, get your coffee, get through the turnstiles. And so we encourage clients to say, what fits in with your long-term strategy? So if you're a commercial office building, your key thing as a landlord is to have delighted tenants. Delighted tenants won't be so fussy about plus minus a couple of % on rent or ongoing expenses if employees love the building. And so things like facial recognition are a very strong trend that is happening now to allow people to whisk themselves into the building without ferreting around in their purse for their phone or their RFID tag. And so clients will say, okay, that's a solution that not only is touch-free, but it also fits in with my long-term goals of tenant experience, because tenant experience was my #1 goal. However, if you're a government agency, probably your #1 thing that you want to achieve is lowering operating costs and reduce the pressure on the public purse of your operation. And so you may choose other technologies that better fit with those long-term goals, because COVID won't be with us forever. And so we want to make sure as well that these things are going to fit in with our long-term wellness and health goals and other objectives that we want when we say what is important in the smart building solution. Smart people movement's a good example. So hands-free visitor management system, seeing lots of adoption. Use of mobile devices for visitors and landlords as security credentials to work on security turnstiles, to work with lift destination control. Lift destination control, which many of you will be familiar with, that's the system where you tell the system what floor you want to go to, and it tells you which lift to get into in order to shorten your travel time. Well, you can program those things to lots of other things that you might want under COVID. You can say, these people are in team A and these people are in team B. You don't allocate them the same lift, and the car and the system will never put them together. Similarly, you can say how many people you want in the lift car and control that. There's a whole lot of ways of controlling people flow through using these standard systems that traditionally we just put them in because when we did, it improved lift performance quality by 15%. Now they can solve multiple things. So again, it's thinking broadly and say what solves short-term, what solves long-term. Slightly off topic, but I think it's worth touching on this, dealing with indoor environmental quality and dealing with the virus. A lot of chatter out there, and I encourage everyone to go back to the experts. So the experts in these areas are organizations that have been around for 100 years, like ASHRAE and like SIBSI. In Singapore, there's some excellent guidance notes out from the Building Construction Authority and NEA and Ministry of Health. And if you take all of what they have to say and you distill it down, there's some recurring themes around the things that one should consider in your air conditioning system to minimize the potential for airborne contaminants to be circulating within the building. This is a very techie slide, I'm afraid. But the reason I want to show it is there's several things in here that also overlap with clients' long-term other goals. For example, this thing here called bipolar ionization is a technology that sterilizes the air, but it also removes volatile organic compounds, which are the chemicals that are coming off furniture and carpet and paint and finishes. And so clients that say, I really care about wellness and I really care about air quality and I want my building to get a high well rating, would say, well, okay, if you do bipolar, it'll help you with COVID, but it'll also help you with these other aspects where there are other technologies like UVGI, which are more narrowly focused around sterilization. So again, you can, when you think about COVID response, think what also fits in long-term with what you also want to achieve long-term. Safe distancing. Video analytics vendors are flat out putting in place technology and upgrading existing systems to allow landlords and tenants to help enforce social distancing, do people counting, check whether people are wearing their face masks or just holding their phone in front of their mask and trying to pretend. All these things are happening now. And we encourage clients saying, great, think about that. But at the same time, let's make sure it does the long-term things. Make sure that it's doing intrusion protection, that's automatically reading all your cameras, because let's face it, No one's looking at 90% of the cameras in your building. No one is, right? Right? There are so many of them. Most people are using surveillance to find out what happened after the fact, not what is happening now. So video analytics, by using pattern recognition, allows the system to identify behaviors. Like if there's a car that's in the truck dock after 11 o'clock and somebody gets out of it and is loitering, then send a message to security to come around and talk to them and say, hey guys, what's going on? Why are you here? So one wants to make sure that you broadly get short-term and long-term solutions when you buy a solution, and you don't just focus now and potentially buy something that doesn't serve you long-term. Similarly, data analytics. So putting in IoT sensors embedded in lights is taking off. Lots and lots of new commercial office towers are now adopting, in part or in whole, IoT smart lighting in order to give detailed occupancy pictures to certain types of tenant, in particular co-working operators and 24-hour people who are using their space 24 hours, like a lot of banking and finance. They're putting it in because it gives them workplace analytics, but it also helps with social distancing. So they're thinking, again, multiple solutions when they're buying now, and not just for the current challenges that we have. And so that's all I had to share with you, really. Just keep a long-term view. Think about people first. Think about the needs. Talk to the people. Write them down. And only once you've got a clear problem case defined, then go ahead and say, okay, what technology do I want? And have I thought about short-term and long-term problems when I've come to look for solutions? Thank you.
First and foremost, thank you very much to the CK for the invitation, and also to IoT SGs, right? Sistema and IoT SGs and AllThingsConnected, we are the good ecosystem partners, and we're very privileged to be sharing some of our experiences in this particular area. Today, my sharing is going to be a bit focused on the smart buildings and facility management. I am Edward Tay. I'm the CEO for Sistema Asia Capital. For today's session, we'll be sharing a bit of use cases that we are increasingly seeing in the marketplace. So some of these are not really all brand new, but what we are seeing is we are seeing large-scale implementation taking place across the globe itself. And there's a few the things that are driving some of these changes. So one of these naturally is the current pandemic that right now we are facing. So we see a lot of movements towards touchless interactions. I think the previous speaker, Stevens, have shared quite a fair bit on that itself, and that is really very good. Yep. And also another one that is also going to be underpinning some of these changes and dynamics is actually in the forms of the artificial intelligence and cloud technologies. So many of these is going to be the foundations moving forward, whereby cities and buildings have been digitized and so-called being smart. And all these dynamics is going to be affecting how we plan and how we operate some of these buildings and some of these facility managements. And it will continue to do so for a very long time. And we are very excited for the opportunity that it presents. So perhaps before we begin, I would like to share a little bit more of us, who we are as investment funds, and our involvement in the smart city development. Sistema is one of the 20th largest listed companies in the Forbes Global 2000s. We are a major private investment group, and we are one of the largest contributor to the Russian GDP. To date, we have assets in telecommunications, data centers, railway estates, pharmaceuticals, e-commerce, and many sectors across the sectors of the Russian economies. So we have many experiences in facility management, as a building owners, in infrastructures, and then also we own many buildings and facilities, and also industrial parks. So these are some of the experiences that we have gleaned from our the holdings and also our operations of such facilities. So about a decade ago, we started to invest heavily into technologies, and we started to integrate many of the smart and digital solutions into our businesses. And so right now, we also run multiple venture capital funds across the globe, and we have a particular focus on smart city technology, given our strong real estate experiences. Sistema Asia Capital is our Asian investment arm that is based out from Singapore and one of the leading smart cities in the region. Here, we work with various governments, networks, and we invest heavily in the technology. It helps to speed up the digitizations of the economies in Asia. And we also see huge opportunities in these particular segments, whereby Asia is the home to most number of mega cities in the world, with the fastest urbanization rates. And smart cities and smart buildings technologies are no longer a fad, but an absolute necessity. So the rapid adoptions of certain technologies to becoming smart and sustainable, right? One of the key areas that I'd like to share is actually clouds. So the adoption of clouds over the last 5 years or so have accelerated many use cases for smart buildings and smart cities. And there's a fundamental layers where many of these digital and smart solutions sits on. Clouds has allowed a very optimized constructions of buildings. It has helped to reduce the energy and resource use. It has helped to increase the safety and also helped to increase the security of such buildings and cities. It has also connected buildings to buildings and cities to cities more than ever before. And henceforth brought forth a whole lot of automation of operations right up to the next level. And because of this, because of time, I will not really go much into technical details, but I would like to share some of these use cases. So the planning of smart buildings will have to be taken from a holistic perspective, from top down. So when we look at smart buildings, we actually look at smart cities, which is an aggregations of a lot of smart buildings. And the planning of such buildings and cities is an absolute start point, whereby technologies has already started, if not already influenced many of such decisions. And we are starting to see many of the designs and planning processes and some of the things that I've shown over there that is powered by machine learning, right, and artificial intelligence on the clouds. So thousands and thousands of images, for example, and the blueprints can right now be analyzed from some of the past data that we have gleaned from the commercial buildings and the residential buildings to create a much more efficient designs. So some of this has also gone into the things that our previous speakers, Stephen, have talked about, the smart people movements. Yep. So some of these solutions have also allowed architects and civil engineers to create designs that is actually sometimes not very natural for us humans to conceptualize. And such designs ultimately will result in space maximizations, reductions of energies, and a better material size, as well as a reduced building materials consumptions. And all these will bode very well for our mother Earth. And the use of technologies and artificial intelligence in clouds and on-sites, and also many of these IoTs devices, such as motion and proximity controls, a lot of mobile devices, apps, for instance, and also the use of a lot of facial recognitions and computer visions have greatly increased the safety of the workplaces. And so what we have over here as part of a safer workplace is we have computer vision softwares. They help to identify personnel with improper PPEs, such as helmets, vests, and boots. And in some cases, we are able to pinpoint the identity of the personnel against a database of workers to alert of illegal entries and violations of the safety guidance. Yes. All these, Stephen have in this previous mention has also mentioned about that itself. And all these practices like this have dramatically helped to improve the reinforcement of safety and regulations, especially in hazardous environments. And we cannot be talking about sustainability or smart buildings without talking about energy optimizations. So how do we actually drive a higher energy efficiencies? Right. So the one takeaway from us is we see the increased use of artificial intelligence right now to help to optimize energy consumptions in the buildings. This will increasingly become more and more common. Yeah. So, for instance, from a lot of guidelines, such as from ASROs and BRICS, we see that air conditioning and heating are major energy factors in our urban areas. And in many cases, using AIs and MLs and optimization technologies and softwares, we can help to decrease some of this energy consumption by up to 30%. And over here, in the slides, we have two cloud systems that are integrated with the BMS, building management systems, and also there's the smart meters. They help to provide a real-time 24/7 optimization of energy settings. And beyond this, there are also many things that actually already we have been doing in the past, but I think increasingly in this pandemics and COVID-19 worlds, such as using bipolar ionization, such as using portable HEPA grid filters. These are all the things that we have been rolling out and constantly looking at better ways of doing so on the large scales from our experience. And we're looking to help to develop and promote some of these solutions with Asian real estate developers and property managers moving forward. And also one of the very key takeaway that we had was, amidst all these concerns, data privacy and sharing of data between different stakeholders within the smart buildings and the facilities, and also the way that we segment and compartmentalize our data have become ever more important. Here is a data sharing architect service that is provided by the company that we are working with. It is a secure multi-party computational, or SMPC. So structure like this helps to provide a secure and granular sharing of real-time data between a network of public and private and the local state authorities. As it is right now, we had a huge dependency, as many of us have experienced over working in the circuit breakers or lockdown periods, wherever you are. We have a huge dependencies on data, as well as, of course, electrical grid, because without power, there's no digitization to mention with. And without data, right, there is no efficiency to talk with. So there's a high dependencies right now on both data and electric grid. And so a structure like this, it can help to provide a very safe and granular sharing between the real-time data is ultra important moving forward. And I think this is also very important for healthcare, for security, for telecoms operators, as well as any of the organizations that deal with highly sensitive data. And only with technology like this can we also safely scale our data operations to a next level. So how do we actually promote a leaner city management? Yes, I think the issue that we already see is as the smart buildings scales expanded, right? As all the cities expanded, as we increase the rate of urbanizations, we need technology to help us. And one of the technologies that we feel that is very key is actually in terms of clouds. We see that clouds have allowed a unified database for many of the city control systems that you guys as property managers or architects or civil engineers are really using. And such control systems are pulling in from multiple data sources into a single command center. Naturally, there's a lot of regulatory issues, a lot of coordination issues, there's even a lot of data segmentation issues. But these are issues that we need to overcome in order to move up to the next stage, in order to drive a leaner city management. Yes. Up and above that itself, we are also starting to witness much more automations in terms of footage processing and abnormality detections, allowing for 24/7 operations with a much lower manpower requirements. And this will allow lesser manpower to manage a greater coverage of the cities and the smart cities by increasing the screen to personnel ratio by at least a magnitude of 10. So for instance, like in places like in Singapore, right, drones will very soon be a mainstream to carry out building inspections and maintenance. So facility managers have to be aware that this is already coming, if not already here. Yeah, in Singapore, we have thousands and thousands of high-rise buildings in the cities, and that requires regular inspections. In the past, this is a very, very tedious process. It requires a lot of labor-intensive methods. But right now, it is made a lot more easier. So the facade data can right now be streamed from autonomous drones, such as the one that you are seeing in the slides, by either the LTEs or 5Gs. 5Gs will be available somewhere in the mid next year in Singapore to the clouds for processing. And this allows for immediate defect detection for even the skyscraper that is very, very high. And as you can see, such use cases are going to be more and more mainstream in the coming year. And the momentum for the smart buildings and smart cities technology will not slow down. And we are starting to see many of the focus whereby things that we've been doing in the past, for example, like video analytics, which we are doing for intrusion protections and surveillance analytics, these are increasingly being used to help to enhance our safe management processes, and especially so right now because of the ongoing pandemics. And unfortunately, due to time, we will not be able to dive much into most of these solutions, but I'd like to leave you guys with one thing today. 1/3 of the humanity will live in Asian cities by 2030. 1/3 of the humanities will live in Asian cities by 2030. And so smart buildings and sustainability will become a necessary evolution for all of us living in our urban spaces. Thank you very much.
Hi, CK. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you very much, all the participants to join in today. My name is Javeria Aijaz. I'm the Director-ICT at Farnek Services. Farnek, just to give you a background, we are UAE's leading technology and sustainability-driven facilities management service provider. Through digitalization, Farnek delivers cost-effective and sustainable services through people, process, and technology. With nearly 40 years of operations in United Arab Emirates, Farnek's credibility in sustainability and sustainable operation is highly recognized. We are award-winning technology initiative and solution at great value to our service delivery, and through a collaborative approach supported by a range of specialist team and individual. Hitches and Glitches is our company which is targeted for UAE-based home and property maintenance, specializing again in technology and sustainability-driven services. Over 60 services to UAE communities. Hitches and Glitches is offering a variety of maintenance packages and one-off services. We also provide sustainable smart home solutions to help the owners look after their property from anywhere in the world. We offer simple and effective and service through a select, book, and relax concept, hitches and glitches, deliver quality, professional, and cost-effective services. Our Farnek strength, we are more than 8,000 employees. We are people's company. We have a very strong customer base of more than 3,000. We are here in UAE from last more than 40 years, operating all across Emirates. We are committed for CO2 cleaning. We are carbon neutral company, and we are very much strong in sustainability initiatives as well as technology. Our flagship projects include Dubai Airport, we maintain and clean. We are maintaining Burj Khalifa, which is one of the tallest tower in the world from last 10 years. We are also looking after Dubai Fountain, government entities like Musanada, one of the biggest mall, Dubai Mall, Yas Marina Circuit, F1, and some telecommunication industries like do as well. I would like to give you a brief that how we use technology to make our FM more efficient. As you can see, our journey really starts from when our employees leave our accommodation. So we had during the COVID situation, we also looked into the touchless technology, especially since we have a big task force of more than 8,000 employees. So it has been a challenge to do the automation of the payroll and within the COVID situation. And this is where we looked into facial recognition technology. So this is where the journey starts from. And then our employees, they are also equipped with smart watches, which is purely for communication purposes. This was the initiative we done in 2017. And now we are also, I'm going to give you more details about the latest version where we are at. So with the smart watches, our employees are very much in touch back with the command room, with the experts sitting to support them when they are on client side. It's a two-way communication, as well as the supervisors have more visibility of the resources on Google Map. Then in terms of the client assets, we have asset and energy monitoring system, which is not only giving us the real-time data, but it also gives us some analytical data, which help us in migrating from traditional reactive maintenance to predictive maintenance. Same apply for the smart washroom, where we are measuring certain statistics, including footfall. As we do cleaning as well, we very much heavily rely on customer journey, customer feedback. So we have, as a part of the smart washroom, we have customer happiness survey collection. I'll take you more into those details. And then finally, for our connected vehicles, so Farnek own its own fleet of 280 vehicles, which take our employees to all our client contractual sites. So it was a task to manage those 280 vehicles, to make the schedule for it, to ensure that all vehicles are taking our employees on the client side on time with all the traffic conditions. So we have our in-house developed fleet management system, which work on the live map, which gives us the ability to schedule and communicate directly to the cars so that we can track them, we can give them their rota on site. Finally, as I mentioned during the company introduction, we have Hitches and Glitches, which is our sister company, which is providing services to the home and maintenance company. So we have came up with an initiative early this year with the Uber-style tracking app, where our customers can book and pay online. And once the technician is on their way to deliver the service, they can track the technician live on the map. There is again a touch of touchless technology, where our customers can pay through Apple Pay and Samsung Pay. So again, we try to bring the technology not for the sake of using the technology, but to make the customer journey easier and more interesting. Okay, so now I would like to take you a little bit into the use cases. So obviously, during all these use cases, we had adoption challenges, which is from technical and business both. But the intention is always that we use the best practices, because the businesses keep on evolving. We expand, we add more systems, especially for a service provider. We have always new contracts coming into our ecosystem. So therefore, the systems will be added, they will be upgraded, there will be mergers and acquisitions. So the idea is that always keep your best practices applied, by keeping an eye to beat the failure to launch. So this, in order to very much on a bigger picture, Farnek came up with this Farnek command center and the remote monitoring. Since the client assets are very critical and we are in a very key location, as you saw in the company's strength, we are managing the airport, we are managing the tallest and prestige tower like Burj Khalifa, as well as the malls, where the customer journey is very important for our own customer. Therefore, we came up with this concept where we have this central facility, which is bringing all the data from our client side about the assets that we are monitoring and maintaining, which is also not only helping us to get into the facilities management in the predictive mode, but also allow us to monitor the energy consumption. So we know from not only the service delivery part, but also that how can we help the environment, how can we help our client from saving energy and increasing their asset life cycle. This command room is obviously bringing information not only from assets, but also from smart watches. So we know that on, for example, on the live map, where our employees are, where our vehicles are, whether the live biometric machines telling us that whether all the employees are onboarded or not, so that the proactive reliever management can be organized. I'll take you to the second use case, which I would like to talk through, is smart washroom. So as I mentioned, that Farnek provide cleaning services as well. And for us, it's very important that we look after our customer's customer. So to make our customer's customer journey more interesting, we look into this IoT initiative as well, where we are sensing certain data, which is helping us to improve our service delivery. So here we are monitoring the footfall, and we are monitoring the air quality and certain consumables, which if as a visitor is not available, it is a nuisance for myself as well. So therefore, this information from IoT sensors, which are available 24/7, is very important for the cleaning department to ensure a good service delivery schedule is organized. At the same time, as a part of the solution, I'll show you in the next screen that we install tablets, which we are also looking at. Why not? There are touchless technology available as well. But what important I would like to share is that we collect customer feedback, whether how happy they are with our services. Now, this is where we are not innovative, not only with our technology or taking a basic information that the customers are happy or not. What is important as a service provider for us is that what are the customer pain points? If they are unhappy, what is making them unhappy? And this is where during our POC and certain implementation, what we saw is that yes, it is not only the cleaning, but the other environmental factor which was making customer unhappy. So therefore, when in our smart washroom, when the customer says, I'm not happy, the system asks them, what is the reason that you're unhappy? And here we built in certain common reasons which customer can expect. And therefore, I'll show you in my next screen that when we done this case study, what we saw that the customer was most of the time unhappy with the air quality. So therefore, this reason gave us a great customer insight that what is making customer unhappy. And that was, since it was related to air quality, so we looked into the maintenance part of the building, and where post-maintenance, we saw a very clear outcome that the customer experience got improved and the complaint has been reduced. And during that our POC, what we found out that we were managed in order to, by gaining the insight of the customer feedback and looking into improving that pain point, we have improved the customer happiness ratio and by a big extent. The next case study I would like to take you into is Farnek smartwatch. So Farnek launched this initiative back in 2017, and we are about to launch our new version of the smartwatch. This is a very, very important equipment which we believe we have in Farnek. Why? Because it allows us to communicate directly with our cleaner, with our security guard, with our technician on the ground. It gives visibility to our command room experts where for any reactive job or any scheduled task, who is the nearest task force available, for example. It comes with a mobile app also. And from the employee welfare perspective, it comes with a panic button. So if in case one of our employee is in a danger, they can just press the button and it's automatically send SMS to a set of individuals from Health and Safety and Human Resources Department with the location, live location of the employee, so that that employee can be looked after. I'll take you to the next slide here. I would like to very quickly brief you that obviously running a lot of technology initiative and especially looking after assets for our customers has not been easy. It needs a big, strong infrastructure backend. So Farnek has a company strength that we are coming up with state-of-the-art technology and the state-of-the-art accommodation, which is called Farnek Village, which house 5,000 employees. It has a recreational area for our employees, including gym and all the other recreational activity, and very interestingly, vertical garden, where we will be growing some fruits and vegetables that can be utilized for our dining facilities. This accommodation is also running this command and control room, which is 24/7, along with operational control room and 24/7 customer service center. The facility is fully equipped with 5G network because we have lots of sensors and lots of mobility usages around. It also comes with Wi-Fi 6 technology, and we facilitate a free Wi-Fi service for our employees as an employee welfare, as well as a very fast and reliable enterprise network and infrastructure. I'll take you forward. And very lastly, I would like to talk about as an employee welfare, what else we do. We are introducing shortly artificial intelligence chatbot, which is called Farnek Buddy. This is very much because obviously there are lots of initiatives around the client, around the operation, but we also focus a lot on our employees welfare, employees happiness. So our employees who are living in Farnek accommodation, they have a free Wi-Fi facility, which allows them to interact with our Farnek Buddy as well. Farnek Buddy's role is to ensure that it collects happiness survey from our employees, so that again, just like customer, we also collect any pain point from our employees if they are facing any problem, let's say in laundry services, in the dining facility, anything, to ensure that our employees are happy, healthy, and ready to work every day. The Buddy also facilitate a self-service for HR services. For example, if they want to raise a leave request, a ticket request, any complaint, they can raise it directly through Farnek Buddy. Also, it gives them a career progression that if somebody is a cleaner, cannot be a cleaner for their lifetime, but if they are interested to become a supervisor, they can show their interest, where Farnek Buddy take them directly to the online learning management video courses, where the cleaner or a technician can attend the video training, and it directly give a feedback to our career center so that they can take them through the career progression. It also being utilized for the news, information, and publication for our employees. So while doing all these initiatives, what was very important was the change management, which I realized, and as a best practices and learning, obviously, what we focus on is a lot of training, a lot of being readiness to implement the technology, because there is a whole shift from the way we do things currently and where we want to go. So the user adoption, which has been a big challenge, I think the best way to mitigate is to train and support the users more and more, where the technology challenges remains there, but that is a part of the project, that how you overcome. For example, when you connect different HVAC system or BMS system into your ecosystem, then obviously you come across different vendors, and this is where we involve our IO module retrofitting partners who can come and do all that open integration for us. But again, I would come back to the emphasis that the change management should be paid a lot of attention, because this is where you ensure you are making yourself and the user base ready to take the change and take it positively and make it forward. I would like to finish my presentation by saying that definitely use the technology and become more efficient as we do by bringing all the Farnek solution 4.0, because we don't use technology, or we should not use technology for the sake of technology. It is to become efficient in what we do, which is the facilities management. Also, I would like to, as a closing note, I would like to thank you, AllThingsConnected and IoT Singapore, as our strong ecosystem partner in all the complex ventures that we have done. And if any participant need any further information, they can always reach out, CK. As we look forward, we do working with them on various transformation initiatives together. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Javeria. Very impressive presentation, and I must say that Farnek is not just green and smart, but I must add, it's a very sensitive company, because I have hardly seen companies, especially into the FM segment, who not just take care of the customer, but take care so well about their employees, their workers, and think about their career progression, right? So it's very rare to see that. So kudos to the Farnek team. So with that, while we are a little over the time it's scheduled, but I think we still have good time for panel discussion. Is building smartness to be rated by the number of smart devices or the wise people? Any quick comment? Maybe Steve, you want to add? While we make the building smart, but we leave the people behind, and how do we make ourselves smart?
It's a combination of both, right? AI is coming, but it's kind of oversold, right? There's a lot of bit of smoke and mirrors that goes with AI, and at the moment, the most successful buildings have great amount of data collection and IoT devices, and there's good analytics, good processing of data to give insights. But it really helps to have wise, experienced people. Experienced people like Farnek and Sistema to look at it and go, based on my experience, now I can see through all the clutter of that data. I can make some really good evidence-based decision making. So right now, I do think it's a mix of great advisors to work with you and knowledgeable professionals, as well as a good data collection and analysis system. I think we've got a way to go before the systems just act truly autonomously. So my answer is both.
Sure. And let's take one quick question from Nilesh. So his question, which I can also relate, there are a lot of silo solutions which we see in such initiatives, and many of them are very bespoke, built particularly for those problems by startups or scale-up or SIs. But what are the business model evolving with IoT as a service? I'm not sure. Javeria would like to add comments while you're doing a lot of, like you shared the use cases about toilet cleaning, about environment monitoring, but at the end of the day, what the business model are you trying to adopt for the end customer?
So, as I mentioned during my presentation, also CK, that we are obviously the intention is to look after customer journey and the customer experience. So, in order to cater the customer experience more and more, we have to collect information and we have to look at what are the patterns, what are the heat map. So, the business model is definitely predictive and more planned, where you know your customer, you know the site, you know the behaviors, so that you can make your service schedule, make your service delivery in a more planned way, so that you increase the customer satisfaction through their customer journey.
Sure. And my follow-up question in the similar topic is to add, since we're deploying so many tech solutions, IoT, AI, connecting everything, HVAC to something else. And you did touch upon the cybersecurity point of view, right? So any thoughts on that? Because cybersecurity is a big topic, and we touch upon this in almost all the discussion, whether it's in manufacturing or build. But specifically, I mean, should I say that FM is typically always lagging behind in terms of the technology adoption. Cybersecurity is even bigger thing for them to understand, and so how can they deal with this topic?
Yeah, I think on the group chat there was several questions, so maybe I'll try to answer all of them together. So I think first and foremost, we are no longer talking about the industry 4.0, we are talking about industry 5.0. We are no longer talking about 5G, we are talking about 6G, and so on and so forth, right? So in the overall scale of context, because the issue over here is, as the whole industries move up the whole technology ladder, right? There has been a gap in terms of the skill sets and the awareness among our builders, among our facilities managers, among our property managers. So this gap in the past is not very glaring because we don't deal with so much data. Right, in the past, right, yes, for example, like 20 over years ago, when I was dealing with Siemens and Trans and some of these very traditional BMS solution providers, the data transfer is literally from just the devices, right, the HVACs and whatsoever, into the command centers. It's all within one building or one facilities. Right now, we are no longer talking about this. We are talking about, for example, in Singapore context, right? Things like the CDL, for example, in the Far East, for example, they have command centers that actually reaches out and manages different buildings, right? Skyscrapers, right? Residentials or even commercials in some cases. So I think some of these practical examples has been touched on by Javeria earlier on. You know, how and building managers right now are being incentivized, right? They want to reduce the energy, right? They want to increase and optimize the users. And for solution providers, right, as the ecosystems, right, solution providers specifically, they all want to drive towards the same need. This is a common need for everybody, right? There is huge demands for products and services in this area. Yep. However, right, the whole ecosystems, as I said, right, comprises of many of the builders, PMS, and property managers. Yes, we are from 2 decades or 3 decades ago, right? And so there is a need and of doing a lot more e-learnings, right? A lot more webinars and a lot more skills upgradings. And again, some of this has been thought of by Stevens and Javeria, right? In terms of different modules, right? Whether you deliver it physically as a form of course, which is done in the past, right? By some of the companies or even authorities like BCA academies, or for example, right now it's actually driven a lot by a lot of the companies, for example, like Schneider Electrics or even Siemens. So the different ways of this engagement is really to allow them to grapple the issues. And one of the 2 biggest issues over here is data privacy and cybersecurity. right? As what CK has actually pointed. This is one whole range of experiences and issues that we have to face off. For example, like cybersecurity, right? We are in the business of investing in the top tech companies, right? Within Russia and Europe and in Southeast Asia. And it's for building managers to even appreciate what are the difference between the edge computing, anti-intrusions, and then all the other jargons. It will realistically takes about a day or 2 days just to get basic understandings.
Right.
For that itself, right, they will need to work with professionals, right? Professionals that is not traditionally in this building managers and facility managers scopes. Like for example, right, they may have to work with companies like NCS or Checkpoint or Trend Micros or RSAs, right, just to name a few.
These or they can work with us also.
Yes, yeah. Some of which are already, the IoT SGs and CKs context.
In fact, Ms. we are also working on some of such cybersecurity solution, both into manufacturing and contributing some of those new initiatives. How do we reconcile advanced analytics and the need of real-time closed-loop control for the building controls? Maybe both Steve or Javeria, you want to add your point. I think we're talking about the integrated approach because a lot of IBM solutions are in discussion. But how do we reconcile the data point of view, getting the data from one system to the other system? Maybe Steve, you want to add first?
Yeah, sure. It's not really proving problematic. I mean, it's limited in that because of latency, we still, for the most part, have localized digital control. Although we are working on one project at the moment to see whether we could migrate an entire BMS into the cloud. But at the moment, we've got real-time latency issues. So we do have distributed digital control, DDC, controlling things fast. And because of open protocols, it is becoming easier to do all of your analytics in the cloud. I would say for the majority of our clients now, they tell us for our big portfolio-wide clients, they say, no need to give me an analytics solution. I've already purchased something across my portfolio. Let's just do some integration. We'll sort out, I'll tell you the data and the sample interval, and we'll analyze it there. And the good thing about that is then I can analyze right across all my buildings and have a better data set. And that seems to be a good solution at the moment of a hybrid of local digital control to do the simple algorithmic minute-by-minute control and cloud-based analysis for giving you deep insights, because you don't need second-by-second insights, right? You really, I've seen a lot of great stuff from some of our bigger development clients saying, I just send a weekly report to my team saying, here's the top 10 things to do next week. I don't know if you noticed, but this thing stopped working or that thing's not great. And it works well. Ultimately, perhaps when we do get to latency disappears and we can do everything in the cloud, that'd be great. But at the moment, it seems like an appropriate balance that is working for the industry.
So maybe so before you add your point, Javeria, so there's one more question which I would like to add. When you're making all these smart services to the clients, how are you making money from the customers? Are you charging them more or are you charging them less? Because there have to be some ROI. So what is your view? Do you expect the customer to pay you more for that?
No, that's very tricky and very important question. Basically, as we know that obviously technology comes with a cost. Now, and this cost has to be bared by somebody. And in most of the cases, clients are least interested because it's a part of, and that's why we as Farnek, we are a smart FM company because we embrace the technology as a part of our service model. Therefore, obviously, when we adopt technology correctly, we have it sitting inside our service delivery model. This is where you already work on increasing the customer satisfaction, meeting all the SLAs. That means the dark side of the invoice where you get the penalties of breaching SLA, you already take care of that part. But at the same time, when you have automated system, for example, rather than during a planned technical round, a person who is going and noting down all the reading on the paper. You're having IoT and these digital system bringing all that information for you. So obviously that converts the cost from manual to the system. But what adds really a value is not the ROI. Doesn't make sense if you replace the cost of man with the system. The ROI really comes in when you improve, you go to a certain level where your, for example, maintenance, so where your assets start talking to you before they break. So it gives you enough information that you react proactively and you get prediction before the assets break. So this is where the real ROI comes for Farnek, as well as an added value service or smart FM service from Farnek to our customers.
Yeah. No, makes sense. And the similar formula, if I can say, we also apply with our customer. While it sounds simple, but there a lot of creativity goes in. As we know, the shareholders look for the two numbers. One is the top line, the revenues, one is the bottom line, how much is the cost, and then the difference is basically the profit. So unless we can help shifting these numbers to the either direction, like reducing the cost, but we can't bring the cost down to zero, obviously we can optimize it. So there's the optimization play in the cost side of it. Are we helping to reduce our cost and hence reducing customers' cost, or we are trying to create some new creative ways to add new business model or new revenue stream for which maybe customers will be willing to pay because they have not foreseen it before. So are we helping them to rethink what more is possible, which they couldn't saw that part? And same for the customer. So I think, and this is what thing which I always talk to my leaders as well as the students when I take lecture, that this is where the creativity and critical thinking comes in. IoT is not just about reducing the cost, which unfortunately most of the companies look into as immediate factor, which is fine, but think beyond making more money for the customers, and obviously then you can make more money for yourself, and will justify the ROI. So one last quick remark from everyone I would like to have as a call for action. Smart buildings, smart facilities has long way to go. As we say, when you talk about built environment, buildings take, I don't know, 3 to 4 years to build, but it have to live there for another 50 or 100 years. And FM, what we envision today and what we will see in around 30, 40 years down the line, there's a lot of things potentially can be done. And as we also, All Things Connected, believe that we can't do everything. That's the reason of name, All Things Connected. So we don't just need to bring the technology together, but also the partners. With that mind, let me go in circle as I see in my screen with Javeria first, then Ed, and we'll close with Steve as a closing remark. Any call for action for the participant or any last comment on this topic?
Sure. Thank you, CK. Thank you, everyone, for attending the session today. I would like to emphasize on the fact, as I mentioned before, don't use the technology for the sake of using the technology. It has to make a sense to the business model. It has to bring efficiency to the service delivery, and we cannot just wait until it reaches the 100% or more than 100%. We need to be a part of this journey. We need to start adopting and embracing technology so that we can live this journey as the technology evolves. And definitely, it's not that at the current state, the technology is not giving you a benefit. It certainly does. And hence, we are on a webinar rather than a seminar. So yes, we have to be connected as All Things Connected. And thank you very much, CK, once again, and All Things Connected again, to bringing us onto the platform. And we look forward definitely to working with you guys and talking on the same lounge with low network connectivity issues or no network connectivity issues next time. Thank you and have a lovely day.
Yeah, I would like to say, all thanks to All Things Connected, right? And then drawing on the analogy that Javeria has said that, we need all to be connected from Dubai to Singapore to Australia and New Zealand, because the world, there's only one world. And any improvement that we can do at the smart building level or the smart facilities level will all help to make this world a much better place?
Well, it's good. All Things Connected is a great name to actually summarize what I think all the comments we're making. And in particular, I'd like to emphasize the point that I made about thinking long term and thinking about each of the systems that you do has value, but the real powerful long term value is interconnecting them all so they each benefit from the knowledge of the others. And so that means thinking long term, saying we must have an open platform. If someone's going to do a closed system that isn't going to integrate, then just don't think about it. Make sure that you adopt something that's going to work using industry standard protocols, and then you're going to find that together, one by one, like adding ornaments on a Christmas tree, we slowly build this beautiful thing that all comes together. So yeah. Think about connectivity, think long-term, make sure whatever you buy will work and be interoperable with other elements in your built environment project.
Thanks, Steve. So yeah, so like I said, we are driving this kind of conversation, but these are not the end of the conversation. These topics do require a lot more deep dive, be it cybersecurity, be it technology integration, business model. And we'll try to cover up those topics maybe in separate sessions. So with that, I would like to thank one more time to Javeria, Ed, and Steve. Take care, everyone.
Thanks,
Bye-bye.
CK.